diys-by-dar, and this is Mould 101 for the beginner. I am going to go through all the products that I use and some of the molds that I use, and let's get into it. The far left, we have clear resin, which is a 2-part 1-to-1 50-50 ratio. And this is for a deep pour, like a tabletop, something bigger and thicker, and it takes 12 to 24 hours for it to cure. The next one is a polyurethane resin, which can be clear or be white. And this is a 10-minute cure. And this is what a lot of people use for mold making for additives on furniture. And the last one is DOS air dry clay. And this is a paper clay, and there is a lot of different varieties out there, but this is the one that I prefer to use because it reminds me the most of real clay. Now, all molds are not treated equally. I have 3 different types of molds here, and they are all silicone molds, and that's what you want for clay and for resin release. This first one way to the left is a redesigned by Prima mold, and it has great depth. This one is an IOD mold, and it has really great depth, and also they help out by telling you how many mils with a little arrow that points to each little mold item. So that helps when you're mixing up your resin. This one doesn't have that, and it also doesn't have that nice little lip that's around the edge, which helps you when you want to scrape off clay. Now this one is just like a cooking type of silicone mold. Doesn't work well. You can see how thin that is. It's like a potato chip, and clay would not work well in there. And this one is from the IOD mold, and you can see the thickness versus the other one. Now, I'm not saying you can't use the other one. You just have to be really careful. Now, Argo starch is what I use for the DOS clay. You need to put a release agent in your mold. Just lightly brush it in. And I use Tite Bond quick and thick multi-purpose glue because this glues anything together, different types of things together. It works really good. I'm going to start with this Let's Resin polyurethane resin. This is my second type that I've tried, and it works pretty good. Mark your cups, A and B. This is another 2-part epoxy, 1-to-1, 50% to 50%. This is a nice little silicone cup. And this is going to be the mixing cup I'm going to put A and B into. So I'm pouring 30 mils of A into my cup, and I'm going to pour 30 mils of B into my other little cup. And you can see that mold I have sitting there. It partially has a piece in it. You can pour over your molds. Like, let's say you have a little bit left, pour something, don't waste it. You can pour over the top of it and it will still be good. Take your A and your B and put it in your silicone mixing cup. Do not stir rapidly to make bubbles. Go in one direction for about 20 seconds. You might see it get cloudy, but what you're waiting for is it to get really clear again, and it takes about 20 seconds. Then go ahead and carefully pour what you want. If you start to feel that cup getting hot, then you know you're running out of time because that reaction is occurring and that is going to get hard inside that cup. Try to pour it as even as you can. Now, I want to take this out early. You see that little kind of clear ridge? It's not ready to come out, and it's still kind of gelatinous and it's sticky on top, so it's not quite ready. I want to form these around what I'm making. Now, it feels pretty good. See how that pulls away? Now it's getting ready. I want to take these out while they're still not set hard as a rock, because if you leave them for 10 minutes, they will be. You can still take and form these around something, but it is just a little bit tricky, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Just slowly work your way around and get that mold out. It's going to be kind of rubbery. Just be careful with it, but you can still get it out of there. It's still pliable. And you can see how nice the resin picks up the design. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to get your glue on there. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to put 2 of them here, and I'm going to bend them around in place. Now, if you didn't want to bend anything and you just are putting something on straight, resin is great because resin picks up the details a lot more than what your DOS clay does. So I'm kind of showing you the difference between both of them. You have to start getting it around and muscling it a little bit. The one good thing is your detail, when you press on it, is not going to get really smashed from pressing down on it. It's going to stay there. I'm going ahead and I'm taking my second one out, which was just a little bit more pliable, but hey, that's okay. You can see how soft it is. I'm going to get that glue on there, and I'm going to put it around as if those leaves are coming down around that rung. So just carefully put them where you want. You can see how easy it is to still move them around and start pressing them down where you want. The trick is you have to keep pressing the direction you want it to go, because it's going to want to go back to that original shape. You see, I can still move that leaf. It's not quite getting hard quite yet, but I'm going to take and curl those down around the bottom. And with your glue, it probably takes about 10 minutes of working. And then I decided I wanted to put another one there just to take it a little bit closer to the end. You have to keep holding it until it stops springing back at you, until it maintains that position that you want. And it takes about 10 minutes to get that to happen, but it will happen. And they do turn out really nice. If it's something just flat, you just let it cure for 10 minutes and glue it on. That's pretty quick. That's quick turnaround time. And it's nice and smooth. There's not any cracks or creases in the leaves themselves. That is one advantage of using resin. Okay, I am going to use the DOS clay this time around, and I have already prepped my area where I'm going to put the clay in with some starch. So I'm going to start pressing that clay down in there. And you want to work your clay beforehand so you get less wrinkles, creases. And since this one has a little ridge around the outside edge that comes up, it's real easy just to tear that clay away with your thumb and press it down good. Make sure you pick up the design. I'm pressing it with the flat part of my hand really good. And I'm going to go ahead and flip this mold around. And this is the Veridis mold by IOD. I seem to be obsessed with it lately. I'm going to go ahead and I have my clay conditioned, and I kind of just press it in the direction that I'm going. And since this is not a really big mold, if this would be a really big one, like one of the doors, I probably would use my dull knife to take off that top layer of clay, starting in the middle and working my way out to both ends. But since it's small, I'm just ripping it with my thumb. And that works equally well. Make sure you have it pressed down good. And basically, you're ready to take it out and go. And you're just going to press and lightly coax it out as you're pulling the mold away from the piece, and it should drop out for you. Now, you can put these in the freezer. I've tried it. It makes this part really easy because they'll just drop out for you in one solid piece, almost like resin. It makes putting the glue on them a whole lot easier, especially when you have little articulations like these leaves, which sometimes can be apt to fall off like that one spot looks like it's getting pretty wonky and that leaf could come off, but you just put them back together. As far as putting it down and wrapping it around, it's clay. I mean, it's easy, but you got to be gentle, because the more you press on the top of these, you are going to obliterate your design on the top of the mold. And here I'm coming in with my second one, which seems a lot quicker, but I'm still taking that time to put them leaves where I want them and gently pushing them down into place. But you can see that there are some cracks and just some areas that the clay looks not quite smooth. The best thing you can do is take a paintbrush with some water and start working on them areas and brushing them to smooth them out so there is not as many of them. And also, if you put too much glue on, you want to take and clean that glue off around those molds. Have a glass of nice warm water and clean your brush off, and then just keep at it. And the brush is actually a good tool to help you press down your mold. In a second, you'll get a little view when I get my hand out of the way. You can take and press down on the mold and seal it to your piece better, seal them to each other better. And there you can see there was a big crack there. I'm trying to smooth that off, take the excess glue out. And you see how that far left leaf is just up a little bit off of the piece. I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to gently push it down so it makes a connection. And I'm pressing down underneath, and these bend. You really don't have to keep hanging on to them like you do the resin. They'll stay in place. Just gently tapping to make sure my connection is good. And then right there, it's just up a little bit. So I'm going to wet it, and I'm going to take that brush and press down a little bit so that seal is better. So I don't know. Maybe it takes about the same amount of time with the resin mold holding it in place versus going back and taking and cleaning it off. And there is each one compared to the other. So here's the piece that I'm working on that's taking up all these molds. I have both. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to make. I have mostly clay for some great bend on the leaves around the piece. The flatter pieces have the resin clay. So your choice. There's a lot of products out there to use. These are the ones that I use. And so far I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I want to take this time to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and share. And I will see you on the next one.